have him lose in some BS way. They had him retire because he was getting bored of winning all the time. And guys, he was overpowered. He didn't perceive time in slow motion. He could basically freeze it completely. Did this make the movie bad? No it didn't. Megamind, I think, is an absolutely amazing movie. But this is what Shoujo could make some fake mystical rock that hurts only speedsters. That would actually make for an interesting story. The third way, and the last way that I think a speedster should be made, is by not having them...
What's up, guys? I hope everyone's having a blessed day, and I've got another video for you, once again, regarding speedsters. So let's get straight into it.
Videos bashing the inconsistent writing of speedsters. And a lot of you say that speedsters have to be inconsistent, otherwise the movie or show they're in would suck. So I decided to make this video today to prove you guys wrong. Writers love to have scenes that show us how overpowered these characters are, but then they'll have them lose in bullshit ways. A good example of this is... The best example of this is the CW Flash. I know you probably hear this show get thrown under the bus all the time, but guys, the writing in it is just ass. Let me give you...
Early seasons, CW Flash up like the Savitar arc. Amazing writing in terms of how speedsters were done. But then gets to a point where it almost becomes... he becomes way too fast for his own good. But up to season 3 or 4 with Savitar, amazing.
Example, Barry was shown to perceive time not in slow motion, but nearly completely frozen. And then he's able to move at super speed within that perception. So you would think, oh my god, Flash is insane, he can't lose. But then he loses to a guy with a freeze gun. But that's not it. He constantly loses to characters who have no super speed, but then he's finally somehow able to defeat them after a beautiful pep talk on how Barry has super speed.
You can do this. Now run, Barry, run!
Yeah, that's pretty much the entire show.
Where'd the Flash?
I saved you like 128 hours of torture. So now you might be asking, well, then how do you write a speedster the correct way? Well, I'm glad you asked. I have 3 different ways on how to write a speedster with 3 different examples to show you. First up is writing an untouchable god-level character and just making them be an untouchable god-level character. Metroman. Metroman is an overpowered godlike character and he stays like that. He never loses because he can't lose.
I'm winning. I'm winning any motherfucking way. I can't lose.
But what made him interesting was how he felt bored of being this godlike hero. He wanted more out of life, so he faked his death.
And Music Man was born.
They didn't have him lose in some BS way. They had him retire because he was getting bored of winning all the time. And guys, he was overpowered. He didn't perceive time in slow motion. He could basically freeze it completely. Did this make the movie bad? No it didn't. Megamind, I think, is an absolutely amazing movie. But this is what shows like
It is very true. Very, very true. It's like, the first example is using is right. If you're going to commit to him or commit a character to be overpowered, do that character due diligence and let him stay overpowered. The biggest problem if you're going to do an overpowered protagonist or character is that it has to have either a satisfying end or a satisfying way they're included and incorporated in the stories. It can't be convoluted how either they lose or convoluted how they're conveniently never there when they're really needed. Makes no sense, and it really removes the enjoyment factor of the story.
Flash do wrong. They show Barry being basically an unbeatable god, but then they have him lose to low-level thugs. The second way to write a consistent speedster is to make them have some sort of limiting factor or something like Kryptonite is to Superman. They can be overpowered gods, but maybe only in short bursts. Maybe after they use their power, they have to have like a cooldown time. Or they could just have the character not be... Maybe they can run fast, but if they run too fast, they'll burn up, so they have to be careful. Actually, a lot of you guys told me about some anime characters that are like this, so when they lose, it's not in a way that directly contradicts what we were just shown every CW Flash episode. They lost because they had some limiting factor, like they needed time.
If anyone's watched My Hero Academia, Idia has the same things where he has thrusters, but he burns up if he uses it too much, which is a good way to give a drawback to it, which I can acknowledge.
Cover or just something of that nature. Like A-Train in the first couple seasons of The Boys. He's been shown to be able to perceive time in slow motion while being able to move at normal speeds in that perception. So he's overpowered. But he couldn't be in super speed for too long because of his heart problems. I think that was really well done. But then he gets a new heart and this happens. How he missed this punch, I have no clue. But he makes up for it with this. This right here is perfect. He can move at normal speeds while perceiving time in slow motion, so these punches should never hit him. Another thing they did really well was him being neutralized by being snuck up on by Kamiko. He doesn't constantly have faster perception. He only does when he wants to, so he's able to be caught off guard sometimes. Or the writers could just make something kind of like Kryptonite, Maybe the speedster is overpowered, but if he comes close to a certain something, he loses his abilities.
One thing I have noticed in terms of speedsters, in terms of cons, what they do is they normally either give them reduced durability or reduced damage capability. But naturally, characters like Wally West are able to overcome this with the Infinite Mass Punch, for example, being one of the strongest attacks in the universe in DC. But those are two ways that it is commonly given a drawback to.
Maybe a show could make some fake mystical rock that hurts only speedsters. That would actually make for an interesting story. The third way, and the last way that I think a speedster should be made, is by not having them be overpowered in the first place. They don't have a faster perception. They don't have the ability to time travel. Have them run like a couple 100 miles per hour. Something like Dash. Dash is fast, but he's not untouchable. He can be caught. Invincible almost did Red Rush like this, and his death would have made more sense. But unfortunately, they told us that he constantly perceives time in slow motion and can move at normal speed or super speed in that perception. So unless Omni-Man is a speedster, Red Rush should not have been caught like this. Yes guys, I know that Omni-Man can fly fast, but being a speedster, having flight speed is not the same thing. Plus, Omni-Man has to slowly build up his speed. Dash is almost perfect. There was that one scene where he laid that tack on the teacher's chair, which would only really be possible if he had faster perception, but this is a one-time thing and never shown again, so we're just gonna forget that ever happened. If you guys enjoyed this video, then
just fucking hit the subscribe, like, and share button.
And if you didn't know, you can click the link in the description to become a member. You get some cool perks and things like that, so go ahead and check it out, or don't.
Very true, but Speedsters, quite an interesting set of powers, and even like it's already on the most recent years since like Lockdown has Speedsters truly been given the acknowledgement and the ratings that they deserve, because previous iterations, as I mentioned earlier, they were depicted as being easily low durability, so if you do hit them, they're basically out and KO'd, and inversely, they're also given they are able to input that much damage, so you normally see like massive rapid attacks, but don't do any damage. But over the years, even these two weaknesses has somewhat been eroded, with characters like the Flash who can now phase through at any attack, and inversely, they also have the Infinite Mass Punch where they can even bypass all durability, and especially with their phasing, can also phase through and taper out that way, which has now removed the previous weaknesses that they were once depicted of having. So it's really up to the storytelling of how overpowered to begin with you want to make the speedsters be, and clearly have clear defined restrictions of what they can do and they can't do. What obviously makes it difficult is obviously when the character is now shown to be growing and getting stronger. It's not always easier to make them grow stronger without them overtly becoming more faster, and having more being faster has its own problems in terms of scaling and consistency. But these three examples, I would say, do make a lot of sense. And will they be used a lot? Probably not, because we do ultimately love when our characters get stronger and faster, and it's just kind of the curse of what you do when you have a speedster. They'll eventually grow to the point where they're so fast that no one can touch them. And at that point, really, the story should just end, but there'll always be stories and narratives to tell. But that's just my opinion, and I overall did enjoy and agree with the video. But let me know if this was a W or L take. But that's me for today. Like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, ciao.